What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of.
Not so tipsy trainers.
Oh, come on! Welcome to another episode of Tipsy Trainer. I am not letting you down today, and I am drinking with you guys.
I'm drinking too, but it's tea.
It
I'm
is
still recovering from our Christmas party on Saturday, so the idea of having a beer right now makes me want to barf.
It is. We are super excited for today's episode, my friends. It's going to be a little different. It's going to be to talk about. It's you know us, right? So it's the non-BS approach to relationships. We're going to let you in to some of our secrets of how we make it work.
Not that we're any experts, but
No.
just in the 4+ years that we've been together, our experiences from it.
That's correct. And you know what is something that I'm very aware of? There's just a lot of people out there that really struggle to either find a relationship or to just keep the one that they have and be happy. And we are blessed with a very happy relationship. So there you go. So we thought that maybe we could share some of that. But this is not meant to be a one-way conversation. We need your comments, we need your feedback, we need your questions. So let's start right away. If you're right here, please drop a comment and let us know if you can hear us. We are using a different mic, so we want to make sure that you can hear us, because otherwise...
Oh, sorry, Penny.
That was the dog, not my wife. Because otherwise we're just going to be here talking and you won't be able to hear us. Right?
Right. Where will the comments? Oh, there.
Yeah. So Laura says Justin is coming on
Justin's gonna
too.
come on too, guys. You guys can each have each have an opinion. That's the problem with these sort of things, is if you're in the same room and your partner is the one in control of the keyboard, it sucks if you want to say something and they don't want you to say it. So make sure if you're a couple that you have opposite ends of the house so you can comment and give your 2 cents.
Can I ask, what is this dog doing? Look at this. Like right
He
here.
thinks he's part of it. Look, and there's Penny too.
Finnegan, are you like going to give your
He's
opinion
like,
on...
Hey guys, so welcome to my podcast.
Okay. Can we keep him on your side, please?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, Brian, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, my friend. Laura's hearing us just fine. Is anybody else having a drink with us tonight?
I'm having a drink.
Oh, look at that. Laura said, he ain't controlling nothing. Darcy, Miguel has his shirt on. Yes! I was wondering who was going to be the first person to notice that. I was, in fact, going to ask, something is different. Can you guess what it is? Darcy.
Sometimes he starts with it and then he takes it off.
True. I wouldn't rule that out.
I, however, keep my shirt on. Sorry, guys.
Katie looks gorgeous as always.
Oh, thanks. You know what? I wish I could say I just did get out of the shower, but I did apply a small amount of makeup, so I didn't scare you guys, because just a little bit.
I didn't.
No,
This is what you get. Too bad. Hey, that's what I said to you too. As soon as you sat down, I was like, "Oh my baby."
Thanks.
All right, so Shitty Budweisers will do as well. So awesome, guys! Thank you so much. All right, so hope that your kids are not around,
because we gonna be using curse words.
Yeah, I did say BS earlier, but that's exactly what this is, my friends. It's a non-bullshit talk, right? And if you have any questions, if you struggle with something in specific in your relationship, drop it in the comments, and because then we can give you our advice. And like Katie says, not that we are experts, but the amount of shit that we deal with exceptionally well, that's the key right there, is quite amazing. So
it's surprising, and I mean, this is kind of a braggy thing to say, but we frequently get asked about our relationship and how we managed, because we did have kind of a non-traditional beginning. So I know most of you know our story. I'm not going to get into how we met or anything, but we got together fairly quickly. So after, I think it was less than 6 months of dating, we moved in together. like less than 2 weeks after we moved in together, Miguel proposed. We had the wedding planned for May. We found out in February, so we hadn't even been together. We'd just been together a year when we found out that we were pregnant. That we got pregnant or we had the wedding in May. We had Max in October. So in that time, we've moved the gyms twice. We moved in together, as well as moved into a new place, like our house now, as well as co-parenting Alexi, as from Miguel's son from his first marriage, in case anybody didn't know, who was 6 when I met him. And then, yeah, so we cohabbed with 3 dogs. We had to integrate them.
And all of this while working together.
While I was training to be a personal trainer.
Yeah, and I mean, since then, we've worked together, we've had the same job. We work, we're constantly just doing things together. So that's a lot of just close proximity. This time that I went to Mexico to see my family, Katie mentioned it was the first time that we had been apart for 5 days.
The longest we had been apart was like a day, a night, and like part of a day.
So that's how. So obviously, normally that would result in more friction, and I think we're pretty lucky. Well, not lucky because it is work, but we're pretty blessed in the sense that we have a really good relationship.
Well, that goes into my first personal piece of advice that I like to give people, and it was something that was kind of hard for me in the beginning. Be okay with not wanting to be with your partner, and vice versa. Be okay with your partner not wanting to be around you. I think that that's one of the most valuable things that Miguel and I do for each other is if he needs time away from me, he can tell me that and I don't get offended, and vice versa. And I mean, I'm not saying that we come home and we're like, I can't stand you right now, I'm going downstairs. But it's a matter of if I'm like, some days I'll come home and I'm like, I just want to watch Grey's Anatomy and do my cross stitch. And Miguel's like, cool, I'll be downstairs. And same thing. He'll come and he'll be like, I'm drinking a beer and I'm going downstairs. And I'm like, see you later. Hope you had a good day. Mm-hmm. And there's no hard feelings. There's no offense taken. And I think that that's huge for us because there's no time spent together that's grudging, if that makes sense. It's not a matter of like, oh, I have to hang out with her or else she's going to be bitchy or, or me being like, oh my God, he's so needy. That never happens. But it's also on us to make sure that that's not happening every single night. But I don't tend to find that does happen for us. So that's just...
you know what I find? Because maybe what we promised was to talk about or give some tips on how to find the right partner and also on how to maintain a strong relationship. So maybe do you want to start there? Do you want to start with how to go about finding?
I can't answer that. Finding a partner is the hardest part. I feel like finding a person is harder than keeping a person and harder than making a marriage work, because I think that is the most stressful part, is finding someone and deciding that you want to be with them and that you want to invest your time and your heart and everything in them. I think that is by far the hardest part about being in a relationship.
I gotta say that in my view, it was the easiest part and the most overrated part.
Strip club, right place, right time. I think she means stripper club? We good.
Check it out. This Justin Mexican is fertile. Yeah, thank you so much for letting everybody know that my shit works. Okay, so here it is.
So wait,
for me,
can I clarify just
sure.
What you're saying? It's not finding the right person that's hard, or that's easy. That's the easy part. When you find that person is good, but it's the whole process going into it.
Yeah, I think that it is overrated though. Like the whole beginning of a relationship, in my view, and we're going to disagree on a lot of things right now, guys. Like we
end up divorced.
Fuck this shit. We're not, we're not just robots here. We have our own opinions and everything. But what I can tell you is that in my view, the beginning stages of a relationship are overrated. Going for dates, feeling like you're falling in love,
because you're bored.
and whatever, overrated. What I can tell you, I think that it is a lot more rewarding. It takes a lot more work, but it's much more rewarding to have a partner that you love, that has your full trust, and that a relationship where you're free to be yourself, where you don't have to be, being on your best. Like when you go for a date. Ugh. At the beginning,
I'll get a salad and a water. Give me the cheeseburger.
I always was like, bring on the fajitas.
I think it's definitely different for men and women. I mean, I know a lot of women that are like, oh, I'm gonna miss having another first kiss, or I know. And you know what? When I was younger, I was like that too. I was like, can you imagine being with one man and never having that excitement or butterflies? But honestly, like I said, that was the hardest part for me. Like, twice before Miguel, I lived with a guy, and both times obviously didn't work out. And I feel like that the disappointment of you thinking that you're so compatible with someone enough to move in and to start, because you don't move in with somebody that you don't think there's a future with.
You don't.
Well, I don't. Yes, I would think that you
We're not judging.
Wouldn't move in with somebody. But like, I mean, one of those relationships ended amicably, and one did not.
Amicably.
You know what I meant. And English is his second language, but somehow you need to help me. Anyway, and one didn't. And I feel like that the whole process, once you've already made a commitment like that, the whole process of starting over again is just like so exhausting and daunting. Yeah, like it's a very big undertaking that you're like, okay, like now I'm back to square one again. But you have to do it. So if you want it.
Something that has only happened once in my lifetime, only once, was after, going on relationships and dating, dating and whatever you want. With Katie, the main difference was that before starting a relationship with you, I was extremely clear on what I wanted. Extremely clear.
Me too.
Some of you may have already heard this, but I even made a list, and this list exists. I still have it somewhere saved. And,
Monique is a witness to this.
Yeah, my friend Monique is a witness. Our friend Monique. We literally one day were hanging out at home. Monique, my friend Kwong, and I, and we made lists. Very, very specific.
Do you remember what you called it?
Lists. My queen.
Your queen of queens.
My queen of
and
queens.
And Monique's king of kings.
Yeah, you're right. And I wrote down 10 characteristics of the woman I was going to marry. And these were very specific. And I got to tell you, I was brutal with them, in the sense that, for example, one of the bullet points there was she doesn't smoke, and that was a non-negotiable for me. Like, it didn't matter. That was something that I had compromised in the past that I was not willing to compromise anymore, because it was just what I wanted. I think that at the very beginning you need to compromise less. You need to be extremely picky at the beginning. Picky may not be the right word. I don't know. Very selective at the beginning. Don't be the one that just goes and dates everything that moves.
I don't agree.
Really? You agree that you should be a throw your hoo-hoo around to whomever?
I didn't say that.
Well.
So, by the way, I know you guys are wondering. I had 9 out of those 10 things on his list.
Correct.
Yeah, there was one. One of the things that he said is spiritual, and I'm not a very spiritual person. So you were really into meditation and stuff then. Mm-hmm. But other than that, though, I nailed them. Anyway, so I think that you need to be comfortable with dating. I think that it's important to see what's out there. Before I met Miguel, like right before, I kind of went a little date crazy, and I literally would and I'm not saying that I would sleep with every single person. I probably slept with none of them. Like,
that's actually a big difference that I found after I met Katie. That for Katie, dating someone was different than what other people that I had met. Their idea of dating someone was very different than Katie's. So thank you very much, Carol, for those good values there.
Yeah. So when there's nothing wrong with throwing your woohoo around. Do it, girls.
Well, yes, if you want to be my wife.
Anyway, so
I don't throw my wee-wee around. Well, to you
not
now.
Anymore, you don't. But
to you, I do.
You had your moment of wee-wee throwing.
Anyway. But it was a very selective wee-wee throwing.
Anyway, so I did online dating and I fucking hated it. It's the worst, but nowadays it's gotta happen. Anyway, Pretty much. I've done it a couple times, but the most recent time, I was so fucking tired of talking to these guys and not knowing what to expect. I'm like, are they lying about who they are? Are they secretly a fucking stalker? Like, so I just kind of got to the point where I was like, sure, let's meet for coffee. I didn't give them any information about me. I wasn't giving out my phone number. I wasn't giving out my last name. I would just be like, sure, let's meet at this Tim Hortons. And, and then I would talk to him. And if within 15 minutes, I was like, this guy's a dinkus, I'd be gone. Or, I wouldn't just disappear, but I would talk to them and then I would be honest and say, this isn't working out and whatever.
Okay, baby, but that doesn't mean that you were dating a lot of people. That was your selection process.
Oh, I guess.
Let's bring it. Let's meet. If it doesn't work, see ya.
So, yeah, okay, yeah. So here's this. I don't... Oh, Haley. Good job being at the gym, though. I personally, have never been the type of person that sleeps with more, I don't know. I'm not judging. I think that people can do whatever they want, but when people are like, oh yeah, I'm sleeping with a couple people, that always was bizarre to me. I don't know. I feel, I don't know. Maybe it's just...
Let's get back on track.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it, I think. I think that it's...
So there you go. It was your selective process. Meeting them was your way of selecting and making sure that it was going to work or not.
And even dating, because when I say dating, yeah, I could never sleep with a guy, but it doesn't mean we weren't dating, right? Because the guy that I was technically dating when I met you, we had never even kissed, but we had gone on dates and we had been spending a lot of time together. And then, unfortunately for him, he left the province and I met a Mexican. So, but I think
this means you lose.
I think it's really important to be, what's the word? Not loose. I feel like you need to just be a little more open when it comes to meeting people. And then I think that you have a better chance of finding what you want, and opposed to being more selective and being like, well, I've only met one guy this month, so I better like him.
Okay, but for me, that's the shotgun approach. So for me, what I mean is you need to get very, very clear on what you want, and then go and look for that. Then once you're clear, you know what you're looking for. You're going to be able to recognize it easier when you come across it. If you're just searching for the sake of searching, then how are you really going to know,
Well, I guess, but when I would meet these guys, there would be certain things, little almost markers that I would look for, right? I'd be, same thing, I dated a smoker once and it was not fun, and I'm totally agree with that. So there was certain things that it was kind of were you a smoker? Do you like animals? Are you, there was a few things that had to be.
Do you like ice cream? Do you like walks on the beach?
Have to be brought up before I'd be willing to meet. But yeah, I don't know. I think, and honest to God, it's harder for women than it is for men.
I don't know. The whole online dating thing, it is way easier for you than it is for us.
No way.
Do you know how many people I messaged when I was on Plenty of Fish? This is a dating app years ago. And I was like, yeah, they like to work out. I like to work out. They may have a son. They're a single mom. I'm a single dad. Everything on paper, everything matched. And I messaged them. I would read their shit. I wouldn't just message them and be like, hey, how's it going? And not a response. Why? Because you get drowned in a sea of perverts where everybody is harassing these poor girls, and then they just don't get, you don't get any time.
Jennifer says, I met my husband on Plenty of Fish. My profile was super detailed, and most men thought I was bitchy for saying exactly what I wanted. You know, though, I meant it, and I got someone who checked the boxes.
Yes.
That's awesome, yeah.
That's exactly it.
Oh, don't get me wrong. There is nothing wrong with... this is another one. I met my husband online only because I messaged him back because he was the only guy who asked to see my tatas.
See? It works sometimes. Haley, that is epic.
Yeah, man.
Oh my god.
Did it. How do I get... Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never asked anybody. I didn't have the nerve.
Oh, that got you... I didn't even respond to guys that would be like,
yeah?
oh, you're hot, show me your tits. Oh, I just be like, stop.
All right. So I came up with my list. But then, something that was a very important part of the process for me was to make sure that I was working on me. I mean, one of the things that I asked my my ex, Alexi's mom, Janelle, who we get along great with, shortly after we broke up, was I literally asked her, what are the main 3 things that you would suggest that I start working on for myself, like to better myself as a person? And I'll tell you, she didn't have much trouble coming up with 3 things, thankfully. And I said, thank you very much. And I, and I got to work. And I literally went and Googled shit. Like, if I found a pattern, it's not the first time that I do this. I wonder why. And I would Google it, and I came to some serious realizations of how I was contributing to some patterns that I thought I was just unlucky and I was ending up in. And no, it turned out that I was bringing those in.
Always look out for the people who have multiple crazy exes, especially guys. If a guy tells you that he has more than one crazy ex, crazy bitch ex, there's a reason why, and it is not them.
Oh, good point.
Honest to God, in my experience, guys have and again, there's exceptions to the rules, but if a guy has a series of crazy exes, odds are he's doing something to drive these poor women crazy.
Yeah.
It's surprising. One of my exes, probably my one crazy ex, I always thought he had this list of these psycho girls, and he was always like, oh, it's because I like to find these women that need protecting and help, and I want to help them. And then so I thought this one chick was a psycho for years. I mean, this relationship was almost 10 years ago, and I, like, to this day, I still have, like, this preconceived notion, but I now know a bunch of people that know her, and they're like, she's one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Oh my.
And to me, she's the psychopath but obviously, whatever happened between them,
to
he
you,
had to play it. But yeah, it's so funny. I've told people, I've been like, do you know this person? Or how are they? And they're like, oh my God, she's the nicest person. And I'm like, what? I was brought to believe that she was a psycho, but
so yeah. I wonder, hey guys, please drop a comment. Other than those of you that already shared where you met your significant other, where else have you met? Like, for those that maybe didn't meet theirs online, where else did you meet them? Because, I mean, we met at the gym. Katie was one of my very first clients, but before that, I had also met the majority of my
You met your first wife online?
Yeah, yep. Online. And like
I
was resistant to it at the beginning, but
I've only been in about, I'd say other than you, I've only really been in 3 like longer than a year relationships. Like I've had like 8 months or 6, but I only have been in other like 3. I'm kind of one of those relationship hoppers. Like I'm barely ever single. Before I met you, I think was my longest but yeah, anyway, so the first one was a high school boyfriend, and then it was like friends of friends, and then online, and then the high school boyfriend came back. And then
so same one.
So yeah, like it was, one of them was online, but the rest of them were just circumstances.
So where else do you think you'd be okay meeting people now? Like going to with the purpose of meeting people.
So this is where it gets hard. I was watching something the other day, or I just saw a picture, and they were saying how it's so hard to be human nowadays because kindness is so rare that it gets mistaken for flirtation, and that Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you'd be surprised. I even do it myself.
Which one of my clients thinks that I flirt with
that's
them?
a different scenario. For example, I told you about it when I was in the dollar store that one time, and that guy kept talking to me. I instantly thought he was hitting on me, and I was trying to do things to make my wedding ring.
And how do you know he didn't?
I don't know he didn't, but I don't know he did either. But that's what I mean.
Right.
Is I had no idea. This man was just being nice to me. He didn't say anything about my parents. He wasn't standing like, you know what I mean? There was no. He was just having a chat with somebody beside him. But it just because that doesn't normally.
Was he like that with everybody? Like was he like that with the person before?
Well, there wasn't a lot of people around. There was a couple in front of us that were talking, but so I would have been the only one available to talk. So I had literally no idea. But I instantly was like, "Ooh, I'm married." So it's. Yeah, like the poor guy might have just been being nice, and it made me be standoffish because I was like, I don't want to encourage him. I was nice. I was like, oh yeah, got my phone out because I was like, I'm not going to encourage this guy because I'm married.
Well,
you know,
just
it's
be
weird,
nice,
right? I was very polite.
Okay,
but it's
there
like
you go. That's all you can ask. That's all you can ask.
I would have if it had been a woman. I would have had a full blown conversation with her because I like talking to strangers. It's probably not a good trait to have.
Why not?
I'm 32. I can do it now.
Yeah. You're
Haley says, I met one of my exes.
Let's see. Let's pull this comment over here.
I met one of my exes sitting on my doorstep. He was on a break from work, and I said, excuse me, can you get the F off my porch? He came back the next day and asked me to dinner. That's awesome.
Wow, that is awesome.
I like that.
That took some balls right there.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
They're like, wow, man, that girl told me to...
You know, I had a guy, when we were engaged, I had a guy come up to me in the mall and ask me out, and I was so flattered, and I told him, I was like, I'm engaged, but I'm like, good for you, like, for having the balls to do that.
Yeah.
To just walk up to a stranger.
I respect that, man.
He just came right up to me and was like, I think you're so beautiful, and I'm wondering if you would like to go for coffee, and I was like, oh my God.
You know what? I've done that too, and it takes balls. I mean, say whatever you want. Nobody likes to feel rejected, so it is tricky, and especially when you don't have the excuse of, oh, let me have a shot.
Yeah.
You know, like you just literally have to walk up and be like, hey, I think you're beautiful. I'd like to invite you out, which is weird though.
Okay,
All we're going on is on appearances at that point. Hey. Yeah. There's got to be some of that.
So yeah, guys, where do you guys think? Where would you go to meet people? Like, I mean.
So Mandy, where do you love talking to strangers? Other than like at work, where else? Like, where do you go?
Work is one that I feel like, depending on where you work, you have the
opportunity to meet
people. Yeah, I never did because I worked at a spa before I met Miguel. So usually 90% of the guys that came in were either gay or with their wives. So.
Haley says it's right ballsy to ask people out.
I could imagine. I've never done it. Yeah. I don't think I've ever asked a guy out.
Jennifer says, I talk to strangers all the time. Most of mine have been online, high school and back in the 90s, in the mall or on the street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Online is where it's at, man. Like
when I was like young, like early years high school, like grade 9, me and my girlfriends used to go to the hockey games and like scream.
You were like 12?
Yeah.
Maybe that doesn't count.
But no, listen.
That's like saying I built a fort, so I know about construction.
What you would try to do is to go places where you knew mutual friends would be. Okay? So stay with me on this. Same thing happened when I was a little bit older. Some people around my age and maybe a bit older would remember this. MGM downtown. It's like a 24-hour restaurant. I don't know if it's 24 hours anymore, but everyone would go to MGM because we couldn't go to the bar or after the bar. And that was like the place to go because you would know so many groups of people that you knew eventually that if somebody caught your eye, you could ask about them or vice versa. And that happened a lot. Like it would just be oh, I noticed your friend. Who is they? Who are they?
You know what? At the grocery store, says Mandy. You know what I admire in Kwang? He will, like, if he feels like going out, he will get dressed and he'll go to the bar on his own.
Yeah, I'm not.
And I've never, I don't think I've ever done that. But he will just go and he'll get a beer and he'll sit at the bar and literally will end up in someone's house with a bunch of people having a blast and they're texting him the next day.
That's another scenario that you got to give props to guys for. When a girl is with a big ass group of her friends dancing at the bar and a guy comes up and asks one of those girls to buy them a drink or something, that takes guts. I don't think I could walk up to a group of men and be like, hey, I think you're cute. Like, no, like that's huge. Yeah. Like, good for you.
It's funny. Nobody really ever gives props for that. It's just like
I will say, I've told
dirty,
Miguel this
slimy
story.
guys at the bar.
No, I dated a guy, and I still consider him a friend. He sent a girlfriend of his to get my drink order. So I was with my friends. He sent a girl, and she was like, my friend thinks you're really cute, but he doesn't want to bother you unless you're interested. Can he buy you a drink? And I was like, yeah, of course. And so...
You didn't ask who is it?
No! I didn't, because I thought that was nice.
Okay.
So she told me, like, she said that's my friend over there. Anyway.
Oh, there you go. So you saw it. You knew. Okay.
Yeah.
That's important.
So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I was like 20, so I was like, whatever you want to get me, I don't care. And so I took a drink, and then she's like, if you want to come and say hi to him later, his name's this, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was so cool. So yeah, I kept an eye on him, danced with my friends, and then I did. I felt comfortable approaching him. He let me take control, but showed his interest, and I thought that was like A++. Plus, the first time he took me on a date, he brought treats for my dogs.
Smart.
Nice guy.
Son of a bitch. I ended up paying for all the food that these fuckers eat. All right, so wait. Here's a good one. Near. Near's a good friend, client at the gym. So he says, I think it also gets tricky as you get older when you carry a past compared to being young and enthusiastic. This is a very good point, my friend. And the reason why I brought it here is because I want to tell you the story about a guy. His name is Kareem. He's a great guy. I love him to death. We were very close years and years ago. This is a very gentle soul.
Even heard of him.
No, yeah, you've never met him. One of those big guys, but he's just all heart.
A teddy bear.
However, when he gets to the subject of women, he can't, like, something must have happened, in a previous relationship that hurt him to a point where he has such a hard time getting over it that I swear to God, myself and Kwong, my friend, we couldn't stand being around him when we were talking about women because his view of women was so damaged by what had happened. And it's crazy, but it's been 10 years since then. And it's the same pattern that keeps on repeating, right? Because he just hasn't been able to process what happened, move on, and maybe just realize that was just one person.
Yeah.
Maybe he did something that contributed to what happened. There's always some sort of shared responsibility.
I think everybody has that one person that kind of fucked them up
messes
a little
you
bit.
up, yeah.
And I think a very integral part of your recovery is who you date afterwards. The ex that I mentioned before, that was terrible. I think that I would have been, like, maybe even now still scarred by some of the stuff that happened to me if it had not been for the guy that I dated afterwards, who really helped me see how much it had affected me, just little things. And I think that I was really lucky that I had that person to help me recover, because I think that a lot of times, like, if you go from bad relationship to bad relationship, like, that just piles on your heart, and it's hard to recover when you're reopening those wounds, right?
Yes. So I think this is a good segue into now you're in a relationship. How do you make it work? And one of the key, both of us have had serious relationships before, and even relationships that were a little tough on us that left some sort of mark in us. And one of the key things that I think we recognized very early on was when we would feel triggered by something, we made a point immediately to communicate to the other person and step back and be like, okay, I'm sorry. I think maybe I just overreacted there. When this and this happens, I feel it brings back some memories from this relationship or whatever. Like, because we had that conversation.
You learn habits from other relationships. Like, one of Miguel's triggers when we started dating was yelling. Because
it still is. Like, I can't. I can't process shit. If you're yelling at me, I'm out.
And it's funny because I never was a yeller, and then that bad relationship, that's how we discussed anything, was basically screaming in each other's faces. So when Miguel and I started dating and I would start getting fired up and frustrated, my voice would rise. And Miguel told me very early on, like, he's like, I will walk out. I cannot tolerate it. It just makes me, like, I'll not listen to a word you're saying if you start yelling. So, I mean, like I said, I wasn't really a yeller in the first place, but it really, like, knocked me out of that habit. Like, I could count on one hand. I can count on 3 fingers the amount of times that I've yelled at Miguel in our entire relationship. And
in not a good way.
And and it's things too, like, Miguel's not a controlling guy, but I'm very triggered by any time, like, any sort of control things, because I had a very controlling
And I used
ex.
to be really bad at that.
And so Miguel, just little things as simple as him trying to tell me what to do, I'd be like, you can't, because it instantly makes me I want to lose. It makes me want to yell.
Yeah.
Because that's a sensitive issue for me.
So as you can see here, the common thread here is that we all have our shit, guys. We all do, and it is very important that you actively work on figuring out what is it that you can do within yourselves, not with your partner, like not how to train your partner better or how to find a better partner. The majority of the work is going to be done within yourself. Evaluate the patterns that you are repeating, find out what role you're playing that perpetuates that pattern, and then change it. I remember finding out that, okay, so I was almost at the end of a bad relationship, and I was like, how could it possibly get to this point? Like, you know, I had the best intentions the whole time. I did blah, 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 right? And then I realized, wait a minute, it's not the first time that I felt like this. And I started researching, Googling it, and I came upon this article that was life-changing. It literally showed 3 different profiles. I fit perfectly into one of those, and it explained how no matter in which one of those 3 profiles you start, it was called the 3 phases of victim. No matter which one of those 3 phases you start in, you will always end up feeling like the victim sooner or later. I was coming into that as the rescuer, and I just thought that I did those things because I was a nice guy, and it literally taught me, all right, so I guess I need to set some boundaries. And I started setting those boundaries. And as a result of that, the current relationship that I was on fell apart because, you know, she didn't like the fact that I wouldn't play back into that pattern. And it was done, you know, but I would have never gotten there if I hadn't first put it on myself to figure out what I was doing.
Yeah, I think that relationships are so convoluted because it's such a balance between respecting yourself and what you're getting out of a relationship, while at the same time respecting your partner and what you're giving to the relationship.
Good point.
I think that when you no longer feel like you're getting value from a relationship, I think that that's just as important as like recognizing that and dealing with that is just as important as, you know, any other part of it. I think that what you decide to do moving forward is important, and I think it's really good to examine that. I think that a lot of times we shy away from that kind of thing. Like if we're feeling unsure, or, you know, we're starting to get feelings towards our partner that maybe aren't, you know, as loving as they used to be. You've lost that loving feeling, if you will. I think that we tend to shy away from that or ignore it, or, you know, like try to be like, oh, brush it off like it's nothing. But I think that there's a reason why those feelings are making themselves known, whether it's you're not getting something from a relationship, or, you know, like that's why they say most of the time people cheat, because there's something missing from their relationship. And I think that if you were truly asked what it is, you'd be able to recognize what it was months ago, but we've chosen to kind of overlook it because for whatever reason, whether it's you're afraid to be single again, or you think you've already invested too much time, which I've been there. I've been in that scenario 3 years in and been like, I can't break up now. Like we own a dog together and we do this and we do that. But I think that that's one of the worst things that people can do. And then kids get involved and then you end up miserable and it's just a big hot mess. But
it's funny because being Mexican and being raised in that Catholic, and it's just very like regimented view that I grew up in, and I thought you got married, and then you figured it out. Like no matter what, you figured it out, and you made it work because now you had kids. And then when I came to Canada, it was like, oh, okay, so stuff is very different here, and but I agree. So neither one is right or wrong. I think that where we make a mistake is we like settling is definitely not okay, but neither is quitting when shit gets tough.
Yeah.
You know? So I think the balance there is you truly need to want what is best for your partner more than you want them to be with you.
So
Because that will drive, one second, because that will drive you to be the best husband that she can have and be supportive of her goals. You know, I want you to be the happiest person that you can be. Not because I make you happy. I want you to be the best version of yourself so that you are happy. So it's not, whereas before I would have acted very different. Like back in the day, guys, I would have tried to figure out how you were less likely to leave me.
yeah.
You know, and that's so flawed.
Something that a lot of people may not know is Miguel and I frequently, or not frequently, but have in the past, done counseling together.
Yes.
I don't know if you call it marriage counseling. I guess it kind of is, but
Couples counseling.
Yeah, couples counseling. Not because. So this is what I think is important: is we did not need it because things were going bad, which I think a lot of people associate, and I myself included. That when you hear couples counseling, you're like, oh no, like what was happening? There was nothing happening. We just found that we were having a bit of trouble communicating, and we had both worked with a good friend of ours, Elizabeth, in the past, and we both found that it was a little bit easier having a mediator. So the first time that we dealt with her separately. Like I had my thing with her and Miguel had her thing, and then it ended up conglomerating into this joint counseling that we actually took a lot from. So we chose to do it again, not because anything had come up, but just because we did take a lot from it. And I think that is huge. Having an outside source as sort of a mediator, especially when you're not at a point where you're already angry or fighting through something, but just to kind of get some stuff out in the open, was huge for us. And I think that one of the main...
And we'll continue doing it. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Constantly.
One of the main things I took from it, and it was from one of our first sessions, was that she talked about how you need to remember that you're on the same team and you're in the same corner. And that was huge for me. Like, I don't know why I had never thought of it that way, but I was like, like, she's like, he's on your side. Like, he's not fighting you. And that was a big deal for me. And she had us, do like a bunch of different little activities, or not activities, like
exercises.
Homework, exercises, yeah. And one of the things was together finding out what our main focus in life was, basically. And, I think that's huge. And they say, oh, you need to find somebody that has the same morals or the same this or the same that. And I think that's actually important because ultimately we know that the main focus of our lives together are our kids. And, there's obviously other branches and whatnot, but I think knowing that ultimately everything we're doing is for the good of our family really helped us realign a lot of our priorities, which made a big difference for me.
Yeah, and that's funny that you mentioned that because I had written my notes for tonight, and one of them was get help and get help early. Like, and it's funny because did she suggest this, or did we just come up with the emailing technique?
No, we've always done that.
Oh yeah,
that started very early.
I know. But that was really good. Whenever we noticed that there was a subject or something that one of us would get a little touchy
It originally started because you were too busy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it started before we even lived together.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, my memory doesn't serve me very well, so...
So, yeah, what would happen is...
I'm going to get another one.
So, when I first met Miguel, he was still... I mean, he still is now, but he was very much building his business, and I had never met a guy that, when I started dating him, didn't just become obsessed with me. I know that sounds terrible, but you know how it is. You meet somebody, and right away it's very, like, you constantly are texting, and Miguel was still very much busy with his business, so now
it's all easy peasy.
And I was very... I was very, you're sensitive in the beginning. Like, you play those games where you'll text them and they won't text you back for a while, but when they do text back, you wait before you text them back because they made
Did you apply those to me?
No, I don't know, probably. Anyway, so
I didn't notice if you did.
There's that little push and pull at the very beginning, right? And so Miguel was very honest with me and was just like, I'm not dating anybody else. This isn't but I have clients and I'm doing this and I'm going to be here and sometimes you're not going to get a hold of me, whatever. And so, being dramatic, because I am me, if I was mad at him for something, I would want to talk about it. But he'd be too fucking busy. Frustrating that
helps, eh?
When you're mad and you want to have a back and forth and they're like, sorry, I'm working for the next 4 hours and I can't talk to you. So what I would do is I'd write an email. And I would write him an email, say what I want to say, blah, blah, blah. And that's how he knew shit was serious. So then he would read the email and there was 2 responses. He would either write back when he had a minute or he would read my email and then come to my house and we would discuss. If we have continued that for the last 4 years. If there's ever something that is not just a quick text back and forth, we will email each other and then we'll tell each other, I sent you an email.
Yep, we'll text. Yeah. And I love that you're not like, have you read it? Have you read it? Have you read it? Because holy crap, like sometimes it is 10 hours before I can sit down to read more than 10 lines of text.
And what's worse than checking your phone and having like 17, are you there? Where are you?
I can't.
Can you pick up?
I
I'm
couldn't.
busy. Come on. And then like, oh. So this way it's like you get to kind of say your piece when you want to say it. Because when you're mad and they're like, I can't talk right now, you're like, but I'm mad right now. You can write your angry email. Get what you want out.
Then delete it. And then write another one.
I've done that. I've done that too. But
like that's another point that I have written there. You need to get better at voicing your feelings. Because like I can get mad just like anybody else and I can say stupid shit, but my words can really hurt. Mm-hmm. And I've done it. I've said stupid things that hurt you.
I don't think that we've ever... Miguel very early on was like, we don't say I hate you. We don't say fuck you. And we never have... We've jokingly been like, fuck you, whatever. But we've never angrily said...
No, because I remember I was like... And that was something that I learned...
We may have said fuck off.
Previously. But I was like, I don't care how mad you are at me. You still love me and I still love you.
And we still respect
unless that's not the case, even if it's not the case, we should still be respectful to each other. Yeah. But yeah, no. So I think that it is your responsibility as a fucking grown-up to learn how to voice your concerns and your feelings. Don't just be a child that kicks and screams when something is not going your way. Like, process it. What part of that is your responsibility? Like, realizing that there's always 2 sides to a coin is huge. And then it allows you to not just be, so
it's
childish.
Also, I think, important to have a third party that you can go to that knows both of you, if that makes sense. So, for example,
who is it in your case?
Jana. Jana is always, because she knows Miguel. She knows mine. She knew me before Miguel. She has known us from the beginning, basically. So I feel like if I'm really mad at Miguel, I can bitch to Jana, and it's not gonna change her opinion of Miguel. And she can sometimes even provide a little bit of insight. Be like, well, you know how Miguel's like this, and I can be like, oh yeah, you're right? So I think it's really big. There's certain things, I go to my mom a lot, but you can't always go to your mom. Because my mom loves Miguel. Miguel's like my mom's 3rd son. And there's certain things I can't tell her because I don't, you can't taint your parents' perception of if you want them to get along, right? And if every time we had a problem I ran to my mom, she'd think he was a huge dick. So, there's lots of stuff I talk to my mom about, but I always think that it's really important to have a third party who knows both of you, can be a little bit more...
removed from the situation.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes they just need to... Like, Jana's really good because I'm just, like, she's not one of those girls that's like, oh, it's okay. She's very blunt, too. So sometimes I'm like, I'll tell her. I'll be like, I just need to get this on my chest. I just need you to be like, ooh, girl, that sucks. And then that's it. We'll move on. We'll talk about Grace. But I think that for me, that sometimes instead of attacking Miguel and being like, why did you say this? Or why did you do that? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, on Saturday night, I was mad at you. And I just bitched to Jana. I didn't start a fight with you. And
Thank you, Jana.
I avoided that. You choose your battles. There, that's a good piece of advice.
No way. I wrote, choose your battles.
Choose your battles.
Yeah.
That's the best piece of advice.
Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? That's a good one too.
That's a hard one for me.
For me, it's not. Like, I don't care if you believe me. I don't care if you think it's okay. Like, we're still gonna do this shit. And
Miguel's a bigger person than me. I fight with like my.
I'm older too, baby.
Yeah, 5 years.
You do fight with her. Okay, so now speaking of marriages where you're bringing someone new to look after your kid. So let's share your perspective because you didn't even like kids, and then all of a sudden here comes this stunning Mexican.
Okay. So here's a good point. So remember how we talked earlier about be choosy and be flexible, because I was always like, I wonder why we didn't meet on Plenty of Fish, because we were on at the same time.
Because I had kids.
Because I blocked the dudes that had kids.
Blocked.
So
maybe you were too young, my young Padawan, to know that those are the good ones.
Even when we met, if you had asked me, oh, do you... I'd have been like, no, and this is my reason.
Wait! I didn't tell you that I had a kid.
No, I knew you had a kid right away, but I met you and Alexi before I was interested in you.
Oh, correct.
So I got to know Alexi, I got to know you, and then it progressed.
Yeah.
So it was different, but I was very like, I don't want to be second in anybody's life, because I know they're gonna put their kid first. And if they don't put their kid first, I'm going to judge them for not putting their kid first. There was no winning. And I was like, I want to be number one, blah, 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 which I now realize is really stupid. But, I didn't know if I even wanted kids when I met Miguel. I was like, I'm very happy having all the wiener dogs.
In the world.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I knew about Alexi before, because me and Miguel were friends first. I didn't run at him at full tilt. I thought he was married when I first met him. So, like, I do not have interest in married men at all.
I was married to the gym.
Unless they're Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Anyway.
Is he married?
Yes.
Don't be a creep.
Very beautiful. Anyway, I respect her. Anyway.
I don't think she cares.
So, she seems like a nice lady. I think she would. Anyway. So, yeah, so there was I hadn't even thought about him like that.
Right.
And then I got to know Alexi. I thought he was a fucking hoot because he was trying to clean Pedro's balls and he didn't have any, but he was assuming that's where they were.
Pedro is a punching dummy that we had at the old gym.
That looked like a dude.
Looks like a dude. It's just from here to here, right? So he doesn't have any balls. So Alexi was trying to clean them.
But Alexi, he's 6 years old, just turned 6. So freaking cute. And he was like, giggling. Oh, we just had someone join. Latoya. Latoya, we are talking about relationships and marriage and how you can meet somebody.
How to deal with a crazy wife and crazy husband. What, baby?
So anyway, and yeah, he was pretending to clean Pedro's balls quietly, like to himself. But he was like giggling, and I'm like, is he cleaning his? And you were like, Alexi. Probably. He was like,
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I hadn't even thought about it when we started dating. I don't know, like it just happened kind of so naturally for us that it didn't really, like, I never had the thought.
Okay, so what was the most difficult thing about coming into a relationship with I already had a son?
You're having to deal with his mom. Okay. So from being like younger and dating, anytime somebody has contact with their ex, usually that's a sore spot, right? So you're like, do they still love them? Like, why are they talking? I've been in relationships where they're like, I don't like it if you talk to your ex-boyfriend.
Latoya is joining us. Sorry to interrupt,
from Trinidad?
Guys. From Trinidad and Tobago.
Cool.
Latoya, thank you so much.
Zumba? Trinidad's a big Zumba part of Zumba.
Oh, really?
Thank
you so much for joining us.
So that was hard to get used to. I had not been in a relationship with somebody that had the relationship, and I mean, in the beginning, you guys weren't on super good terms, so that made it a little easier. But it was something that I had to deal with internally because I knew there was no going around it. Right. I would never, in a million years, come between you and your son's. The mother of your son. Yeah. So that was something I had to really internalize and deal with. And that was probably the most difficult part for me.
And I can tell you from a single dad that was, going through the rough stage with figuring out, Alexi and like what time he was going to spend where and whatnot. Um, it was very nice to not have Katie be a source of stress because it was very difficult for me. And in fact, one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult period of my life, just because my son was what was at stake here, right? And to have my home be a happy, safe place where I didn't get more shit on me was extremely important. Extremely. And that was a big reservation that I had going, like, when it came to looking for partners. I thought that I was most likely going to end up with somebody that had a son or a daughter. Why? Because only then they would understand just how important my son was to me. And I can tell you that what makes me, I mean, one of the many things that makes me incredibly happy and thankful for Katie is how she treats Alexi, how much she loves Alexi. I can tell you that, like there's not a lot that could break us up, but that would be so hurtful for me. It would hurt me so bad if you were a stepmom that treated him badly, or that I don't know, that really, oh man, that like, for example, if I never saw a picture of you with Alexi in it, and all you cared about was Max, that would hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it goes through your mind at all, or if it did at the beginning. But the fact that I mean, Alexi, you met Alexi 4 years ago, but the fact that you've incorporated him into your life as much as Max is extremely huge for myself.
For me, when I'm, like I said, it was just kind of like an integral part of meeting you, and I knew, like, Miguel has always been a really, like, hands-on father, and so there was never any doubt that, and this is ironic because this is the reason I want to date men, but there was never any doubt that Alexi was your number one. So, and I really respected that about you. I mean, I always thought that it would kind of get my hackles up because I was like, and I mean, like I said, I didn't even really like kids, and there was some things I'd be like, oh my god, Alexi's got sticky hands, or he was naked a lot of the time, which was really upsetting for me in the beginning. I saw his tiny penis more than I cared to, but
it's hilarious. Poor little man, if he finds this 20 years from now, he's gonna be like.
But yeah, so I mean, there was a lot, but I knew that if I wanted to be a part of this family, which I did, like, it wasn't just you, it was him too, right? And I mean, honest to God, and I mean this, I was so lucky because of him. Like, it was so easy being a part of your guys' life because he accepted me from the very beginning, which I know a lot of people don't have. I have never had a fight with Alexi. I've never had Alexi not listen to me or told that you're not my real mom. I know he's not a teenager yet, and that might happen. But he
loves you. He cried when we got married because, like, no, actually, when I proposed to you and when he found out that we were going to get married, he cried so hard, and he told who?
He told his friend's mom.
Right.
Because she told us. He told her that he was the luckiest boy because his dad was marrying his best friend, like Alexi's best friend. He was like, my dad's marrying my best friend, Katie. Like, bless his little thinking heart.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine how much that made? Like, if I already loved you up to here, like, that shit just fucking shot through the roof. Because I was
he's
like,
such a good kid. It's easy.
I know, but you know what? I mean, I had dated other people before, and he had never been like that ever.
Yeah.
You know, so it I don't know. It was just extremely.
And you know what? It wasn't hard. Alexi's never made it hard. There were times that it was hard for me, because it is hard to know that you're entering a family, right? It's kind of like being the third wheel, right? Because these two had such a beautiful relationship, And here I am just kind of trying to weasel my way in. And luckily they both accepted me and brought me in. But I mean, in the very beginning it was hard. Like and Miguel, I think it's really important that you respected my inexperience with kids, because like I said, there was times Alexi would sleep in Miguel's big bed. Miguel had a huge king size bed, and so Alexi would sneak in, usually pretty late, and sleep with him in the night. So then when I started spending the night, at first it was kind of sneaky. Like I was very like, I don't want him to know that I'm spending the night. But then I would wake up with a tiny little naked boy staring at me, and he didn't care. He was like, sure, I'm getting in with you guys. But it made me really uncomfortable. So, because that's where I was at. And so I knew that was me. And the last thing that I would want is for something to change for Alexi or Miguel because of me. So I made the decision, and it wasn't malicious. It wasn't like a ultimatum. But I just said, for the next little while, I'm not going to spend the night when he's there. So if he's not there, then great, I'll spend the night. If he's there, I'm just going to come over, I'll hang out, and then I'm going to go home. And then as he started getting a little bit older, they started phasing out. So it would only be Friday nights he'd spend the night. So then when I was there Saturday, Miguel, it wasn't about me. It was just like, okay, buddy, last night we spent the night together. Now it's time to sleep in your bed. And Alexi was like, cool, awesome, great. And then I would spend the night. So it was nice because he didn't associate losing the night with his dad with me being there. But he just it became like an integral part, which I think is huge.
I asked him before I proposed to you, too.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, hey, what do you think? How do you like Katie? And I mean, kids, right? Like, especially 6 years old. They're going to tell the truth. 6 years old, they may be like, well, yeah, okay. No. But like, what do you like about her? In which way is she nice to you? Like, how, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I knew my son, obviously. I know my son. So
he's not a good liar.
No, he's not at all. And so I was like, okay, I'm thinking of asking her to marry me. And I'm like, and this is what it would mean. It would mean that she's always in our house. We would need to probably, she would either move and live here eventually, or we would live with her anyways. It would change things a little bit, but I need to know how you feel about this. Like, I respected his feelings extremely. And I can tell you, I would have, if he had been like, I don't know about this, or if I had seen any hesitation, I wouldn't have taken that lightly, and it has just been like that since the very beginning. I think we're just trying to emphasize on the importance of, if you're a single dad with a boy, you know what I did? I introduced my son very early on into relationships because I needed to know immediately whether or not it was going to be a good fit. And then respected him and gave him and her their own space so they could move at their own pace.
Yeah, and I can honestly say in 4 years, we've never had a conflict. Like, I mean, we've had he's,
You tell him to go brush his teeth again.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, he's never talked back to me. We've never had fights. We've never had to use Miguel as a instigator. In fact, most of the time, Alexi's on my side. We're against Miguel. But... And I mean, and I think too,
when we're wrestling,
because of our relationship and our relationship with him, that was what really made bringing Max into the equation super smooth too. Like, that kid could not love his little sister more. And there's no jealousy. There's no like animosity between the siblings or anything. Like, I feel like the dynamic between the four of us is like best case scenario. Like, there's so much respect and comfort, and we can ask for space if we need it. And Alexi's the first one to get into bed with us or to cuddle anybody, and I think that's huge at 10 years old, that he's willing to cuddle his stepmom or his dad. And I think that that's a sign of comfort and respect, and I think that's a big deal. And I think that's just simply because we've allowed him to express himself, and we let him tell us how he feels, if he's upset or if he's scared or if he's angry. We don't ask him to not be honest about his feelings.
Yeah, right? And so on the other side of that is, if you find a potential partner or a partner that comes, you're merging your families, then it's very important to be aware that that little person is an extension of your partner. Like, you can't, like, all right, this should not be taken as me consenting or agreeing, but if we were to have 50,000 more children, Alexia and I we will always have a very special bond because we had several Christmases together alone, and we, like, it was us, for so long that it was.
Do you know what I always remember
that will
too?
never change? So it's extremely important.
So Christmas, this is just a kind of a side story. Christmas is huge for me. I'm obsessed with it. If you know me, you know this. I love it. I love Christmas. It's a big deal. So the first,
Obsessed. You're like, what's the name of that guy? The elf.
Elf, yeah. So anyway, right around November 1st, I start getting like anxiety from being so excited for Christmas. Anyway, so me and Miguel had just started dating. Like just. I believe it was like December 21st that we like first hung out. So, no, maybe, I think it was the 17th. Hey, whatever. We had just, like, we weren't even boyfriend and girlfriend yet, officially. Like, we had just started dating. And you told me it was just you and Alexi. And I can't remember, you're like, yeah, it's just a really quiet Christmas this year. It's just me and my boy. And you were you were fine with it, but you were a little bit like, yeah, it's a little quiet. You were sad for him because it was quiet or something. And I was like, don't worry, you guys will be with us next year. Mm-hmm. And we kind of laughed it off. But sure enough, next Christmas, you were joined into my big happy family.
And that has been, I mean, you know what, man, I should say this. And I mean, you guys, I mean, if you don't know us, you may think, oh my God, what a bunch of, like, whatever, man. Every time that I see somebody on Facebook be like, oh, don't believe it when you see somebody else's...
The highlight reel.
Because that's the highlight reel. Fuck you. If your expectations of what is possible in your life are so low that seeing somebody happy instantly is bullshit, I feel very sorry for you. But that is not our case. Thank goodness.
Yeah, shit's hard too, though.
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
We're not just getting by. We work on it. But another thing that we're extremely blessed with is precisely that. My son now has another grandma, and he loves her, and grandpa, and uncles, and everything. And if I tell him, hey man, guess what? We're going to Will's house next weekend. He is excited. He can't wait. He even told me the other day, he's like, I know Will is a little older than me. Oh, if he ever sees this, he's gonna hate me.
Will's 15.
But so he's like, I know Will's a little older, but I love hanging
14.
out with him. So I try to like act cool so that he doesn't feel like I'm being a pest.
Bless his little heart.
He just loves it, and
when my mom comes to babysits, like I don't know how many 10-year-olds you know, but we're like, Grandma B's coming, and he's like dead serious. Yes.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, what time's Grandma B coming over?
Yes, 3 times that day.
So my mom's very like grandma. Like she always has a treat in her purse, and so I kind of assumed that's why he got excited because he knew she'd bring him something, right? She always has like little chocolates or whatever. But
she never brings me one.
I know, me neither, because I yell at her when she brings us chocolate.
You yell at your mom.
Sometimes she'll be in her kitchen and she'll be like, "Are you allowed to have sweets?" And I'm like, "No, don't bring it out." Or I'm like, bring it in. Anyway, so
she asks for
I
permission.
always kind of thought that that's why, right? And then and then his kind of treat when we go out and my mom's babysitting is that he gets to play his video games and just do his thing and then whatever. And then I find out that every time my mom babysits, he turns off the video games and comes and hangs out with her. Like,
mind blowing.
Doesn't ask. Like, we don't ask him to do that. We don't like. We're like, yo, buddy. Like, this is your night. You're allowed to play whatever you want. You're allowed to be on TV. Whatever.
He turns off the video game, comes up and hangs out with her
by choice to hang out with his grandma
and his sister.
Yeah, by choice until he goes to bed, and then she's like, "All right, it's 9 o'clock. You gotta go brush your teeth." Like.
Yeah, I know, that's pretty cute.
That's fantastic.
I mean, it'll change, that's fine, but
yeah.
I think that if you're going to, whether you're in a relationship right now or you're in the process of or you'll be in one soon, it is important that you believe that things can be amazing. If you don't, you will manifest that.
Yeah.
One of my clients I was sitting with this week, and we're going to be working together and everything. He's seen the results that other clients get. He absolutely loves us and the gym and everything, the culture. He knows it. But he, in a very honest moment, he told me, I got to tell you, man, yeah, let's go ahead with this and everything. But I got to tell you, I still don't believe that it's possible. And you know what? And I told him, you need to change that, because I can tell you, man, I can do for you exactly what I've done for everybody else, but you will fail if you believe that it is not possible when you're faced with the choice. And we're just oversimplifying this, but when you're faced with the choice of broccoli or donuts, if you think, oh, fuck, what's the point? This shit's not going to work anyways. You're going to go for donuts.
Whether you believe you're going to do it or you're not going to do it, you're right.
That's right.
Yeah?
So, if baby, you didn't come up with that.
I know I didn't, but I'm the one that's progressive.
Yeah, good point. So, if you think, oh, what's the point of working on my marriage? It's not going to work anyways. When you're faced with temptation or are this close to making stupid decisions, you're going to make the decisions that are going to make that happen.
I don't know what it's from. It's from a book or a movie or something. Or it's
Star Wars.
No, it's like one of those like videos. They have those like little mini inspirational bullshits on Facebook. They're not bullshit. Some of them are right. Anyway, but it talks about choosing your partner and choosing to choose your partner. And I think that frequently. I think about how I've chosen Miguel and I continue to choose him every day. And I know that might sound kind of hokey, but it's so true. I made a decision. I made vows. And to me personally, those are very important. And I think that, whenever I'm mad at Miguel or when, stuff comes up, like I'm one of those people that I remove myself from uncomfortable situations. So I'm not the kind of girl that's like, I'm going to be in a situation where I can get hit on by boys all the time. But I do that because I've chose my husband and I choose to, and I'm not, this is going to get messy here, but like, I'm not saying that people need to do that. But for me personally, I make decisions and choices based on the fact that I've chosen Miguel and I continue to choose him every day. And that's how I live my life. Like, and I think that makes, for me personally, being married easy because
I can tell you a huge difference that has happened now. And it is precisely that your own way of respecting your marriage. What I consider the first time that I've been hit on since being married, like hit on very like fucking head on, like here I am and I like you and boom. Instead of thinking, oh, that's cute or whatever, I was offended by it. I was like, how dare you?
Was that the one that was immediately after asking if your pictures of me and the kids were your wife and children?
So obviously this person knew that I was married, that I had children, and she still chose to hit on me very violent, not violently,
well, you know what?
Very aggressively.
Yeah.
And honest to God,
in front of the photos of his children and wife, I might add.
I was offended. I was like, how dare you disrespect them? Like, they're right there. Yeah. And that just goes to show that
you blocked and deleted, and you were all.
I was offended.
You were more offended than me. I was laughing.
I was offended. That's the word. I was like, how dare you? How disrespectful is that?
This goes into another point. Jealousy's not good. Obviously, we all know that.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to talk about it.
But
we've both. Well, have we both? I don't know. I'm pretty pure since.
Pure? That's the word?
I have on multiple occasions expressed feelings of jealousy to Miguel. Not accusingly, not...
Especially, let's keep things into context here. Like, I work, 99% of my clients are women, and I have very close relationships with the vast majority of them, to the point where...
he's seen them in their underwear, they have to send pictures of themselves.
To the point where I'll hug them, and I
He's had to measure their boobs and butts. And that part doesn't bother me. I got used to that really early on. I knew I had to. But there's been other scenarios that I have been uncomfortable with, and I very calmly, and I wasn't accusing. It wasn't you're doing anything wrong, but I was honest and said I'm uncomfortable with this particular situation. And not even that you need to stop talking to this person or you need to stop it, but how can we make me feel better?
Yeah.
Like if this is something that's important to you, like if this person that you care about.
Again, what did I say earlier? It's about learning how to voice your feelings.
Yeah.
Because if you had come to me, attacking me and calling me names and yelling at me, I guarantee I would have gotten my defenses up and it wouldn't have ended
and
well.
And I think jealousy a lot of the times it comes from the person that's feeling it, right? Because it's from a place of insecurity, I think. I mean, not always, and there is times when the other person's being a shady hoe, but I recognized a lot of the, like, I think you need to be able to internalize it and say, like, and I said that when I brought it up, I said, I'm feeling insecure about your relationship with this person. Yeah. And I think it really says a lot about your partner and how they, like, Miguel was so respectful and asked me what I wanted from it, and I said, it's not that I want you to stop talking to them, but I just wanted you to know how I'm feeling. And he was so understanding and so respectful and answered all my questions and did it. And it wasn't in a like accuse, like, well, you don't fucking trust me. Like, not at all. Like, he listened to me and he told me his side of it and asked me what I wanted to do moving forward. And I was fine with it. Like, that was it. I just needed to have that conversation and to be comforted, and that was that. And I think that's a big deal, because I think jealousy is it's a big boner killer for relationships.
Trust is extremely important. Well, trust is very important too, but it is. I don't know. That is one thing that I learned early on as well. If you need to forgive someone, if you want to forgive someone, forgive them and forgive them early and get over it, or don't. Yeah. But don't hold it over their heads. Don't try to put them into a tiny little box so that then you can trust them. That shit just doesn't work. Yeah. So now we choose to trust that we are both so invested in this that no matter what, we're going to be fine because we are this invested in it.
Something that people might think is weird about us is we've had the discussion.
Oh, I bet there's a lot
that's weird. I've told Miguel that if he gets to a point where he feels like he is about to cheat or thinking about cheating or something, he's a little intrigued by somebody showing interest, I asked him to discuss it with me. That I would rather him come to me and say, you know what, I met this lady and I'm really attracted to her and I don't want something to happen. Let's discuss this, because I would rather, that shows me that I'm more important than this person because he wants me to help him through this scenario, right? And I mean, shit happens, especially when you're with somebody for, I mean, I hope that we're going to be together for many, many more years to come. And I think that happens naturally in relationships where you're in scenarios where you are tempted and you are in a scenario where you tend to get comfortable, you know, after you've been with somebody for 15 years, how, you know, and somebody starts showing you attention. But I think that what you do with that
is what matters.
Yeah. And I think that I would much rather you come to me and talk to me about it than me find out that you came this close or that you did do something when, you know, like, I'm not going to attack him. I'm not going to be like, fuck you for telling me about it. I'd rather you tell me about it than do it.
Yeah. Good point. All right, my friends. We've been at this, man. This is an hour and 20 minutes.
I was trying not to interrupt you, and I had something in the back of my head that I wanted to say.
Oh, sorry, baby.
God, no, it's okay. I was just trying. I interrupt all the time.
No, I'm bad too.
Really hard not to.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This is something that we could obviously talk for a lot. Yeah. Thank you so much for all your comments.
Experts. We do not know. We are in no way responsible for your relationship.
Yeah, this is just advice.
We get some.
Do whatever. I
dated every guy on the internet, and he was a murderer. Meet in public places. Don't tell them your last name or your phone number.
Call your mama.
Yeah, have a rape whistle. Rape whistle.
Let her know when you're home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important.
We love you guys.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Love your faces, and we'll see you soon.
Bye. Bye.